Welcome to Spenny and the Nets, episode 258. I am your host, Spen Harris, and let's talk some Brooklyn Nets basketball. It is July 21st on a Tuesday, and I'm going to give you guys my recap of the Fanatics Fest, which I attended this past weekend. So, full disclosure, I am not a merchandise guy. I own about three jerseys, and two of them I won in a shooting hoops, one of those basketball games at the boardwalk, because I have one of the most beautiful jumpers that I think in the history of mankind. So, yeah, won two jerseys, a James Harden Nets jersey and a Kevin Durant USA jersey. Still have the Kevin Durant USA jersey. I threw out the James Harden Nets jersey because fuck that. And I have another jersey, I think, that has my own last name on it from when I used to work for a traveling tailgate company, but that is another story for another day. I was introduced to the Fanatics Advisory Council for Brooklyn Nets fans by Rick Laughlin. For those who don't know Rick, he's at Nets Insider on X, and he is also the author of several books. One of them is a history of the Nets from their inception as an organization to current day Brooklyn Nets. So Rick's a great guy. He's been on the show, and he invited me to be part of this Fanatics Nets Advisory Council. I talked about it on last week's episode. But basically, my role is to give Fanatics feedback on events, new Nets merchandise, and the overall Nets fan experience. So I attended Fanatics Fest 2026 as a member of the Nets Fan Advisory Council for free. On Saturday, I was there from 9 to 1, and here's my recap. I'll give you the good, and I'll give you the bad, and I'll just give you all of it. It is one of the most, I'll use the word hectic because it is just chaotic, but it's also grandiose. It's also surreal. It's otherworldly. I mean, I can't remember in my lifetime this many celebrities and athletes being in one place that wasn't a sporting event, right? Like, you watch the World Cup, you watch the NBA Finals. Obviously, you have celebrities there. The Golden Globes, these kinds of events that are for celebrities, for athletes, right? Because you and me can't afford to go sit courtside at a finals game, or can't afford World Cup tickets. But Fanatics, there were thousands and thousands and thousands of fans, and there were also a few hundred celebrities and athletes, which is pretty cool. So we had a unique experience for the first 2 hours of the day on Saturday. We got a private meeting with the executive team of Fanatics, which included Michael Rubin, who did Q&A with us, which was really cool. We also did an unboxing that was filmed live. I forget the stream, but we were on a stream. I believe it was called Lombardi something, where we were given a box, or we got to choose the box, and we opened it, and it was a signed Major League Baseball jersey. There were classic jerseys. There were current jerseys. I ended up getting a Phillies signed jersey by Stott. I traded that jersey for a St. Louis Cardinals signed jersey. I don't remember the player who it was. And then I traded that jersey for a Milwaukee Brewers Jesus made jersey because I'm a Brewers guy and I wanted that Brewers jersey. So that was unique to us, meeting Michael Rubin, doing the unboxing. Everything else that I experienced at Fanatics Fest was that of a general attendee. And that was a little tough. And I say that because a few things. As a Nets fan, there was a Nets activation there. There was a Brooklyn Nets area, or I guess, just I would call it an activation. I did not see one person with any Brooklyn Nets gear at that activation. It was a shooting. There was a basket. They were giving fans a chance to shoot at the basket, and not one person had a Brooklyn Nets jersey, hat, what have you. That's not as much a knock on the event as it is as much Nets fans. Where were you? The only two Nets fans to show up for the advisory council with Fanatics were me and Doug Barrick. If you're on X, you're a Nets fan. You know Doug. Doug is a diehard Brooklyn Nets fan. He goes to most of the games. I believe he has season tickets. But we were the only ones representing the Nets there that I saw out of the tens of thousands of people that were in attendance. So, Nets fans, try to show up next year. Even if you're not a Nets fan, buy a hat, put it on. But that was sad to see. Did not see any Nets players there. I know that Michael Porter Jr., I think, was there on Thursday or Friday. Didn't see him on Saturday. I believe Richard Jefferson might have been there. Didn't see him either. And I didn't see any other Brooklyn Nets players. So that was a little sad. I would have liked to see one or two of the younger guys that at the event, but at the same time, the summer league finishing up in Vegas. Obviously, the majority of the Nets rookies and sophomores and younger players are in Vegas. So I think it would have been a tough turnaround to get any of them to the Javits Center in New York City. And I'm not sure that Michael Rubin was really thinking, hey, let me get Jaeger Joman or Michael Brown Jr. on the phone and fly them out to the Javits Center. Maybe they talked about it. I would guess not. So as a Nets fan, I did not feel like our organization was represented well there. And it being in New York City, that was a little disappointing. The other, I guess, bad, if you want to call it, lines out the wazoo everywhere you look. It is hard to get around there. I found it slightly confusing in terms of what was where. Yeah, there was a map that pointed everything out, but I don't think it was the most clear thing in the world. And I ended up not meeting any celebrities per se. I ended up, which I'm fine with. I'm not a big fan guy, but would have been cool to have a conversation and say hello to anybody. I did. There were two random athletes I saw just walking amongst the people. One was UFC legend Chuck Liddell. I found that to be kind of interesting. I'm not a big UFC guy, but as a casual fan, I think everyone knows Chuck Liddell. He was on an episode of the show The League years ago. So shout out to Chuck Liddell. He was leaving when I got there, I think, or when we were going down to the main area. And I also saw Grant Williams, former Boston Celtic. I don't even know what team he's on right now. I think he's still on the Hornets, but I'm not 100% sure on that. So Grant Williams, Chuck Liddell, those were the two random athletes I saw. I did see Noah Eagle. He was doing a live, I guess, play-by-play of something. So at Fanatics Fest, there's all these different things going on. There's guys like Justin Bieber and Tom Brady doing shooting challenges. I walked by Logan Paul and Mike Malock doing a live podcast, and then Noah Eagle was doing a play-by-play with Keegan Michael Key and one other person, and it was good to see, Iron Eagle's son, Noah Eagle. He also calls some Nets games, so shout out to the Eagle family. But yeah, that's kind of my recap. I mean, interesting event. I left at 1 p.m. I did say hi to our fellow Nets fan, Keith McPherson. He was doing a live stream at Mitchell and Ness. So I got to see Keith and he said hello to me on the live stream, which was really nice of him. But yeah, I definitely would go back next year. I would just like to see the Nets represented a little bit more, and I'll probably dial in a little bit more next year. I was only there for a few hours one day. Maybe next year I'll go the whole day. Maybe I'll go 2 days. Maybe I'll have sort of a set agenda in mind of what I wanted to do. I did not do any activities. I didn't stand on any lines, and that was kind of it. All right, let's talk about the Nets outside of Fanatics Fest, and we're going to start with the latest on Michael Porter Jr. and his potential contract extension with the Nets. So this was reported a few days ago by Chris Haynes on the upcoming meeting between Michael Porter Jr.'s agent and the Nets. But basically what Chris Haynes said was, if it becomes apparent on that an extension is not in play, then I do believe, this is Chris Haynes speaking, I do believe the next step will be the Brooklyn Nets and Michael Porter Jr. parting ways. So I found that to be very interesting, that Chris Haynes reported that, because a lot of the stuff with Michael Porter Jr., it seemed pretty positive. And I just want to share, we're gonna share this clip because I thought it was interesting. This was actually at Fanatics. So this was this clip I'm about to play you was Michael Porter Jr. being interviewed by Kevin Nagandi on SportsCenter live at Fanatics. And I thought it was an interesting clip, so I wanted to play it Here it is. Here's the clip of Michael Porter Jr. on SportsCenter a few days ago.
It's like so many different athletes, so many people coming out and so close to the fans.
It's really an honor because as an athlete, during the season, a lot of it is going to the gym, coming home, going to play games and coming home. You don't get the chance a lot to interact with the fans and see how much love they really have for you. So to come out here and get to shake people's hand and sign their autographs and take pictures with them, it's really an honor.
And this is in your backyard because you won a title with the Nuggets. Now with Brooklyn, what did you learn about that process? Leaving Denver, the team that drafted you, winning a championship, and then coming here.
Yeah, it felt like last year was like a new rookie season. It felt that drastic of a change, being in Denver, being one of the younger guys, a part of established culture and everything, and then winning a championship. To come to Brooklyn and be the leader on the team, one of the oldest guys on the team. We had 5 rookies, youngest team in the NBA. It was a completely different role that I had, but it was something that I cherished, and I think that we're building something special over there.
What was your question?
We're building something special over there. Sounds like he wants to be a part of what Sean Marks is trying to build in Brooklyn. Now, obviously, Sean Marks doesn't want to show his cards, so I don't think that he's going to say much about what's happening. But I do think that Michael Porter Jr. wants to stay here. I do think he's telling his agent he wants to stay here. I think they're going to get some type of extension done. I just don't see the Nets moving on from Michael Porter Jr. after what he did for this team last year in terms of just being that veteran for these rookies, being a guy that these up-and-coming players like Jaeger Joman, Drake Powell, Danny Wolf, these guys can look at and go to for advice, as my dog barks. Yeah, this is, I mean, it sounds like he wants to be here. And I think that Sean Marks wants him to be here too. So I do think that the Nets and Michael Porter Jr. will work something out. That's just my prediction. I think that you don't make that trade for Julius Randle if you're going to move Michael Porter Jr., even though their game play is a little redundant. It's a little similar in the sense that they're both ball dominant, or at least they have been ball dominant, heavy forwards. But Michael Porter Jr. can play off the ball. We saw that in Denver. Julius Randle is fine taking a back seat when he needs to. We saw that in Minnesota. We saw that a little bit in New York. I can see this working out with these young guys and those two guys really pushing the Nets as far as they can in the East. So that was the latest in terms of Michael Porter Jr. I do have a quote from Sean Marks. This is 3 days ago. Eric Slater, who covers the Nets, he wrote this. This is Sean Marks on whether the Nets will make more moves this summer.
Yeah, I think something we've always done and sort of pride ourselves on and how we've built is not using up all your flexibility, just making sure you have that, whether it's going into season or throughout summers. And I think that's when you're a rebuilding team like we have been the last couple of years, that's important, right? You just never know what's going to come your way. So for us to have that optionality is going to be really important. But at the same time, I like the roster we have. I love seeing what I'm seeing out there. The guys are playing hard, they're playing the right way, and they're playing for each other. So I don't think we're in any immediate rush to do anything there from adding more pieces.
That's interesting. We're not in a rush to do anything. He likes the roster we have. I don't see the Nets making many more moves this summer. I don't. I think that they have the building blocks in terms of the future and the young guys. They have the veterans they want on this team. That's why they picked up Keon Ellis in free agency. I think that this is the roster that the Nets are going to go into the season with. You heard it from Sean Marks. He said it's okay to have the option, to have that flexibility, that wiggle room. But I think these are the guys. This is the team that he created. Like there aren't any guys that aren't under the Sean Marks GM umbrella. He's been our GM for a while now, for almost a decade. I think 2019. So it'll be 10 years in 2029. I think 2019 he came in. Could be wrong. Maybe it was 2017, 2018. I don't know. He's been here for a while though. I'm gonna actually figure that out right now. So yeah, two interesting quotes. One from Michael Porter Jr., one from Sean Marks. And he has actually been here since February 18, 2016. So it's been over a decade. But all these guys, you got to think Sean Marks likes. I don't think you're going to have this Cam Thomas thing where there's a guy who doesn't want to play for the Nets. I just don't see it. Everyone seems happy here. So we'll see. All right, it's official. Nick Claxton, the longest tenured Net, says his goodbye to Nets fans on Twitter. He has been traded to the Chicago Bulls. This was part of the trade that brought Julius Randle from Minnesota to the Nets. So there's a pic that Claxton posted of himself in a Brooklyn Nets jersey. And here was the message. Thanks for everything. These past 7 years have been an amazing ride. I appreciate the Nets organization and fans for believing in me. I felt the love and support from day one. Through the ups and downs, this city watched me grow into a man. I will always cherish my time spent there. I created so many beautiful memories and friendships that will last a lifetime. I will be forever grateful I was able to call Brooklyn home. With all that being said, it was time to move on. Thanks again for rocking with me. I will see y'all again. So Claxton, his tenure as a Brooklyn Net is done. He was drafted here in 2019. So that's 6 seasons in Brooklyn. He leaves Brooklyn averaging 10.6 points per game, 7.6 rebounds per game on 63% from the field, and 18.6% from three-point range, 1.6 blocks per game, 7 years. I'm sorry, 2019 to 2026. That's 7 years in Brooklyn. Look, as a Nets fan, as someone who watches almost every game, I'll remember 2 things from Nick Claxton. I will remember the game against the Lakers where he had, I think, the go-ahead dunk. It was over LeBron, or it was something filthy, or maybe it was the game-winning block on LeBron too. Don't remember exactly what happened, but I know he was massive in that Lakers win a few years ago. I will also remember, and this is not the best, him being quoted early on in his career when he was on the team with the Big Three saying that he had never lost to the Knicks before. I think he was like 4-0, 5-0, 6-0, something like that. And I don't think that he's won a game against the New York Knicks since that quote. That was like 4 years ago. So I'll remember the good. I'll remember the bad. Nick Claxton, thanks for the memories. All right. This next segment is called Did We Just Become Best Friends? Been seeing a lot of Michael Brown Jr. I got to get used to that. Michael Brown Jr. and Jaeger Joman. Been seeing a lot of both of them on TikTok separately. And then recently saw this video of them playing at Top Golf in Las Vegas together. They're super active on TikTok. They're super young. And you're seeing the chemistry between the two, who people are labeling the backcourt of the future for the Brooklyn Nets. You're seeing that chemistry off the court, and you're also seeing it on the court. You saw it during Summer League. You saw them play off each other. MBJ was trying to find Jaeger. Jaeger was encouraging MBJ to be aggressive. He was, there was that clip of them in the post game where Michael Brown Jr. was being interviewed, and Jaeger came by and he said, "Hey, how about that great pass I gave to you?" Or something along those lines. But you love to see those two young guys who could develop into potential stars in Brooklyn. You love to see them developing that relationship early on. And speaking of Summer League, it's officially over. The Nets played their last Summer League game on July 19th on Sunday. They rested most of their guys, and now the next basketball that this Brooklyn Nets team will play will be preseason basketball towards the end of the summer, beginning of the fall. Let's look ahead to this 2026-2027 Nets team. So my projected starting 5 and first few guys off the bench, I think Michael Brown Jr. has to start at point guard. I think he's got to. You don't draft a guy at 6 and bring him off the bench to start. Joman at the 2, MPJ at the 3, Julius Randle at the 4, Day'Ron Sharpe finally gets an opportunity to start at center. Bench pieces, first guy off the bench will be Keon Ellis. Traore will be your backup point guard. Josh Minott, who I think the Nets are going to feature a lot more this year than they did last year. He's going to be that first forward off the bench, in my opinion. Then in terms of big men, you have Danny Wolf in year 2. Joshua Jefferson out of Iowa might be a 2-way in year 1. And then Chaney Johnson, who absolutely had a really strong summer league. I think he should get a 2-way contract, and he'll be that third big guy off the bench. And then finally, the other two or three guys, you have Terrence Mann, who I think is still on this roster, I think. And then the two sophomores from last year, Drake Powell and Ben Saraf. Now, those two guys have a lot to prove in year two. Neither one of them had a strong summer league. Both did not look like they improved much. Saraf still has trouble shooting the basketball and just defending well. Powell had some inconsistencies in the summer league shooting the basketball. He did have that one good game. What was it, against the Kings? It was against somebody where he had a pretty strong performance against the Warriors. I forget who, but inconsistent. And those are two guys that you really wanted to see some growth from in the summer league. Picking up Keon Ellis, drafting Michael Brown Jr., having Terrence Mann, I think, still on this roster, and obviously you have Josh Minot there. It's going to be difficult for Powell and Saraf to see the court. So we'll see. They got a lot to prove. I do think Danny Wolf did enough in year one and showed enough in the summer league where he should be your first big guy off the bench. Him, Joshua Jefferson, and Chaney Johnson right now. Because as of now, the Nets have not went out and made any other moves regarding big men. It's also a very crowded Eastern Conference. I might have talked about this on the show last week, but you look at the East. I see one team that is guaranteed to suck next year. That is the Milwaukee Bucks. Every other team in the East, you can go down the list. Boston Celtics, playoff team last year. New York Knicks, 2025-2026 NBA Finals champions. 76ers acquired Jaylen Brown. Toronto Raptors made the playoffs last year. Chicago Bulls, Caleb Wilson, monster. Cleveland Cavaliers, playoff team last year. Detroit Pistons, 1 seed last year. Indiana Pacers, who were terrible last year, are bringing Halliburton. He's coming back. You go out and trade for Zubats. You still have Naismith's on that team. He's hungry. You still have some guys in Indy who were part of that championship run 2 years ago. Nembhard is still a big part of what they do. I mentioned Milwaukee, probably going to stink. Atlanta just traded for Lou Dort. They're trying to be competitive in the East. Charlotte, play-in team last year. They trade away LaMelo, but this is the Con Knipple show now. This is the Brandon Miller show. They got some really good players in Charlotte. Miami traded for Giannis. Orlando, playoff team last year. And finally, you have the Washington Wizards, one of the worst teams in the league last year. They get AJ DeBonsa, Trae Young, Anthony Davis, Alex Sarr, Trey Johnson's on that team. Like, the East is no joke. So right now, if you're the Nets, let's look, because I want to see what the standings were last year. So the only teams that had a worse record than the Nets last year were the Pacers and the Wizards, right? This year, Milwaukee's going to be under them. Can the Nets have a better record than the Bulls, than the Hornets, than the Pacers, than the Magic, than the Raptors? They're going to have to beat 5 teams to sniff that play-in at 10. They're going to have a better record than 5 teams in the East to get in the play-in. Can they do it? I think the 10 seed is their ceiling, if I'm being realistic. I don't think they can be better than the 10 seed. We'll see. I do think they should be better than Chicago. Chicago's way too young, inexperienced. Caleb Wilson will be a dog, but he'll need a year or two to get that team going. But other than them in Milwaukee, every other team scares me in the East if you're a Brooklyn Nets fan. So, like what Sean Marks is doing, he's trying to stay competitive in the East. You saw that with the additions of Julius Randle and Keon Ellis. I don't know, though. Remember, the Nets don't own their pick next year. They don't have a first-round pick. So, and they changed the tanking rule. So even if they did have a first-round pick, it wouldn't make sense to tank. All right. That is it. We're going to round out this week's podcast with some shout-outs. And they're not basketball related. So if you just tuned in for basketball, feel free to leave. But these are important shout-outs in my mind, despite this being a Brooklyn Nets podcast. We're going to shout out, we'll shout out fellow Nets fan Doug Barrick. I mentioned him earlier. Only other Nets fan who pulled up to the Advisory Fan Network with me representing Nets fans on Saturday. And he went back on Sunday, full Nets gear, big Nets fan. So shout out to Doug Barrick. I urge more Nets fans to come next year and represent, go for at least one day and prove that we still exist. Shout out to Spain, the Spanish national team, for defeating Argentina 1-0 in the World Cup. What an exciting game. I saw, I forget who it was. I think someone someone on X said it was one of the most boring soccer games. I get it. If you like scoring, that third place game between England and France, that was for you. But if you're a pure-blooded football fan, a fan of the game, that game yesterday was really nice to watch. Spain dominated defensively. Argentina did not have one shot on net for like the majority of the game. I think maybe I don't even know if they had a shot on net the entire game. Spain allowed one goal the entire World Cup. And they withstood foolish thuggery by the Argentinian players who tried to make the game messy by roughing up Spain players, pushing them after the whistle, and after the game was over, literally throwing hands with players on Spain. And it's all because they weren't as skilled as Spain and they weren't as talented as Spain and they didn't execute as well as Spain did on Sunday. And that takes guts. That takes very strong will when someone's constantly hitting you and pushing you and roughing you up not to hit back. Because it's easy if someone hits you to hit back. It's a lot harder to stay the course and play soccer and eventually pull that game out in extra time. Kudos to Spain. What a job by those players. That's my second shout out. Two more quick shout outs. Number one, my father, Kevin Shanman. Got to shout out Dad. He's been killing it in stand-up comedy recently. He performed at the Meadowlands Comedy Club a few weeks ago, and he's been tearing up the New Jersey and occasionally Manhattan comedy circuit. So shout out to Kevin Shanman. You can follow him on YouTube. You can find him on Instagram. If you want to listen to some stand-up comedy from the guy who hosts this podcast's father, check him out. Also, shout out to my brother Nick, part-time co-host of the show. I Mostly Blame Myself, which is Nick's comedy sketch group, will be performing their next show at the Players Theater in Manhattan on August 29th this year at 6 p.m. and 9 p.m. I believe tickets are already sold out for the 9 p.m. show, and only a few remain for the 6 p.m. show. However, they will be doing their first ever live stream of the show. I believe you still have to pay for it to watch it live, but it's worth it. They are very fucking funny, and they have performed in New York City for the past, I want to say 4 years. Check out IMBM, I Mostly Blame Myself, on Instagram, YouTube, and get your tickets to their show now. Also, Nick has another show that I have to promote because I think it's hilarious. It's a short YouTube show. I think episodes are 11, 12 minutes long. It's called Gravel's Travels. It's on YouTube. There's an Instagram page for it. If you guys like stupid but clever, funny shows, Gravel's Travels, check it out. It's not for kids. It's more adult humor, but very funny. Shout out Nick. Shout out my dad. Shout out Doug Barrick. Shout out Spain. And shout out to my wife, Victoria. She made some incredible arrayas for dinner tonight. Blew my mind. Just insane. Drizzled tahini on them, some cut up onions, cooked them perfectly on the stove. Flavorful, meaty. The pita was toasted nicely. For those who don't know, I'm a bit of a foodie. I'm not going to promote any of my shit today. You want to look it up, go on Instagram, search my name and figure it out. Because this isn't about me. This is about everybody else. So shout out to Victoria, my wife, for the dinner she cooked today. And that's it. Nets fans, we don't got a lot going on until the postseason. Until the preseason. But I'll be doing my best to give you guys an episode every single week. This has been Spenny and the Nets, episode 258. And the next time you listen to me on here, LeBron James will have picked a team he's going to play for this upcoming season, hopefully. Thanks for listening. And as always, go Nets.